Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the Friday Roundup Live, and the first one for a few weeks. How are we all doing? It's been a little while since we've done a Friday stream, so good to get out there just after practice and have a bit of a chat with you all. I'm going to be joined by Dan as well in a moment, so we'll be going over some of the stuff from FP1 and FP2, as well as some interesting news stories regarding Haas and Romain Grosjean's on a bit of a strop as well about his penalty points, but we'll come to that in a moment and some other news stories as well that are floating around. I'm sure we'll discuss silly season as well, what's worth discussing anyway, because not a lot left to discuss there, but we will be covering it because we just always seem to. So yes, I will come to you in chat throughout the stream as well to get your points of view and whatnot as well. But should we get the formalities out of the way? Let's have a look at the results from FP1 followed by FP2, and then we'll discuss the talking points from them when I bring Dan in. But yeah, anybody that said that expected that on a Friday is lying. Not so much the Red Bulls, but the Renaults in behind. Max Verstappen top, 0.4 quicker, nearly half a second than teammate Daniel Ricciardo. Yes, Carlos Sainz in third place there for Renault. No, your eyes have not deceived you. Unbelievable. 1.2 seconds off the pace. Hülkenberg fourth, 1.3 seconds off. So that's a Renault 1, 2, 3, 4. Challenge for chat. Anybody can find out the last time we had 4 Renault-powered cars as the first 4 in a session. Let me know, because I'm really intrigued. I couldn't find it before the stream. I ran out of time, but really intrigued to see when that was. And yes, before we start, I know it's only Friday, but not so much Red Bull, but certainly Renault a big surprise in there. But also Mercedes, 5th and 6th, Hamilton 5th, Bottas 6th, well off the pace. Ferrari as well, although based on the morning session, or the morning session in Mexico, the afternoon here in the UK, I would say they looked as though they were running very different strategies to Red Bull. So I wouldn't read an awful lot into that pace. But then, as we'll see in FP2 in a minute, it didn't get a hell of a lot closer. Vettel 7th and Raikkonen 8th. Brendan Hartley, really good session for him. He was 9th for Toro Rosso. Solid performance from Nicholas Latifi, just ahead of his far more experienced teammate for the day, Sergio Perez. Brilliant from the Canadian. Perez, of course, at home in Mexico. A lot of noise every time he drove past the grandstand. Brilliant to hear. Antonio Giovinazzi also outpacing teammate Marcus Ericsson. He was 12th for Sauber. 2.5 seconds off the pace, not bad at all. Looking very good for next year, Antonio Giovinazzi. Really stepped up since he's got his FP1 outings, I feel. Romain Grosjean 13th with Marcus Ericsson 14th. Lando Norris, another FP1 stand-in, who has beaten his teammate. He was a 10th quicker than Stoffel Van Dorn, give or take. He's 15th with Stoffel Van Dorn in 16th. Kevin Magnussen 17th. And then it's the Williams boys, Sergei Sirotkin and Lance Stroll and Pierre Gasly. Couple of install laps done, no lap time set, but he's got to take an engine penalty anyway, and we'll be starting down the back of the grid. More on that a little bit later on. So yes, it is only Friday, as I'm sure you're all telling me in chat a million times, and I'm sure you'll all say in the comments, but Renault a huge surprise. And if you thought for a second that was going to change in the afternoon session or the evening session, it didn't really. Max Verstappen again top with Daniel Ricciardo in second. Red Bull looking very, very strong. Carlos Sainz also looking good in that Renault. He was third, only 1.2 off the pace of Max Verstappen. Vettel looking better, 1.2 off himself, not only a thousandth of a second, actually off third place, and not bad at all. Hülkenberg, he's in fifth. Could he be on for a cheeky podium this weekend if things go his way? I'm sure we'll discuss that with Dan in just a moment. Brendan Hartley in sixth, really solid for him. He's really stepped up this last couple of weekends, hasn't he? Has Brendan Hartley, so quite impressed with him there. Lewis Hamilton in seventh, Kimi Raikkonen eighth, and Valtteri Bottas ninth. Still well off the pace, but I'm going to be going into some long run numbers in a minute, so yeah, it's a little bit closer, but it's still a surprise gap, I feel. Sergio Perez top 10 with Esteban Ocon in 11th place. So I'm going to look down there for any big surprises in that top 11. I don't really, aside from the ones I've mentioned, see any big surprise. I think Vettel, couple of tenths quicker than Raikkonen. Raikkonen's been on form lately, but you'd probably say Vettel. You'd expect to be a little bit quicker than Kimi, but we saw in Austin, you just never know, do you? So Romain Grosjean 12th, Charles Leclerc 13th, Pierre Gasly, he got out in FP2, he was 14th, Stoffel Van Dorn 15th, Lance Stroll 16th, Marcus Ericsson is 17th, Sergei Sirotkin 18th, Fernando Alonso 19th, and Kevin Magnussen 20th for Haas. Just a quick thing on McLaren, I'm sure we'll be giving him a little bit of stick shortly, but really miserable day for them. When you consider how well Red Bull are doing with the higher altitude, sort of levelling things out, and the Renault engine looking good, and the Renault Works team doing so well, you'd expect more from McLaren, but that car looks awful. So not good at all. But I'm going to take this opportunity to just bring in and say a very good evening. It's been a long time, mate. Hello, Dan. If Dan's working, we may not be. We'll give him a minute. It's all right. He'll tell me when he's alive. Yeah, but anyway, that's a strange one. He'll be with me in a minute, I'm sure. But we're just going to go over a couple of things from FP1. I'll read these out for you. So it was a Red Bull 1-2, a second clear of the Mercedes boys. And as I said, on the face of it, I kind of felt like Mercedes and Ferrari were running on very different programs, almost polar opposite to what the top four were doing. So I wouldn't read an awful lot into that. But their pace never really picked up in the second practice session either, which was a little bit of a surprise. So not entirely sure what is going on there. So whether it's anything to be concerned about by Mercedes, I wouldn't have thought so. Obviously, they've got party modes, haven't they, for qualifying, so that could well change very quickly. But I just want to go over that. I'm going to go over the quick times. I'm going to have to because I'm really intrigued by this. The race pace averages, which was done in FP2, of course. Verstappen on the Hypersoft tyres, he did 7 laps, I believe it was, and he did a 122.9 was his average. Ricciardo over 8 laps on the Hypersofts was a 123.3. Vettel over 5 laps on the Hypersofts, only a 124. Only a 124, so 1.1 off Verstappen and 7 tenths off Ricciardo. Hamilton 6 tenths further back on a 124.6. He was over 5 laps as well. And Bottas on the Ultra Softs, he was 124.9. So there's not actually, on the face of it, a huge delta between the Hypersofts and the Ultra Softs. So it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on that. Obviously, I would say Mercedes, Ferrari are going to be pretty desperate to get through Q2 on the ultra soft tyres. I mean, Red Bull have got the pace to do so, but I don't think the gap's big enough. Let me know what you think in chat, but I don't think that the gap's big enough for Mercedes at the moment. Obviously, that could all change tomorrow to go for that strategy. I just don't think it's going to work. So I'm just listening out for Dan, see if he's working.
Yeah, I think it's sorted. Can you hear me now?
I can. There we go. Hey, you're right,
sorry,
Dan.
everyone. I'm all right, thanks, mate. That's my first little hiccup I've had so far, and my heart was going a little bit there because I'm really excited to talk about these practice sessions and the little bit of news going on, especially with Grosjean and Haas. So thanks for having me as always, mate.
Yeah, no worries. I was just having a little ramble on through some of my notes there. If anybody wonders, by the way, my notes, they're in no order. They are absolutely all over the place. So if I do wander off on one, then yeah, I don't know. Did you hear those race pace averages were just going over there, Dan?
I heard some of them at the end. It's looking like it's going to be a really tasty weekend. I'm already really looking forward to it, not only because of the championship fight, which I think, we'll talk about in a second, it's probably going to happen, but just the pace of the Renaults and the Red Bulls. It's looking like a complete topsy-turvy weekend, so I'm really looking forward.
I was talking to, I was just mentioning this chat actually. Do we think Hulkenberg, if we get a little bit of luck in the race, might be onto maybe a sneaky podium, finally break that duct?
That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? I'd love that. I'd love that. And I know in my predictions at the beginning of the year, I said Renault would get a podium. My predictions were awful, but if that one thing can actually come true, I'd be quite happy with that. But yeah, I reckon it could. I'd put money on it. Only a little bit, though, because, not crazy. But yeah, that'd be fantastic.
That's it. You never know, do you? We never know.
Exactly.
But couple of talking points. I'll have a look at the FP1 ones. Just saying the Red Bull boys are second clear of the Mercedes, but with those extra party modes in qualifying, that's going to close up. But I was listening to the Sky coverage, and Martin Brundle was saying that can't really be more than half a second. Is it? Are they really going to be that extra engine mode isn't going to find Mercedes a full second a lap? Is it?
No, I mean, you wouldn't think so anyway. Like you say, and everyone always says, you can't really read too much into it because it's Friday, but still the gap that they have, that's a crazy gap, even if they are running different fuel loads and different engine modes. But I think this actually is Red Bull's pace. I think they're really going to be on the money this weekend, and probably, I think it'd be safe to say they could get a 1-2 out of it.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they don't, to be honest. But then having said that, with Ricciardo's look and the reliability he's had of late, we'll talk about Verstappen this afternoon. You just never know. But Ferrari, some interesting stuff from them. The lack of pace in their car could be put down to the fact that they were actually trying upgrades throughout the session. So they're trying a new floor for Mexico. So that obviously would sort of explain why they were so far off the pace in FP1. So I think Ferrari will come back quite strong tomorrow. I mean, the running order based on FP2, and again, I'll say this a million times this stream, it is only Friday, we never know, but based on what we've got at the moment, it looks like Red Bull, as much as I'd love to see Renault in that top 3, I don't see it, but I would say Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes at the minute.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a very fair assumption there. I don't think Hartley in P6 either in the second
No.
session. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be very realistic come Sunday. But yeah, I think you're right. It'd be great to see the Renaults in that fight. But if you're going to use a bit of common sense and look at the rest of the season, I really doubt.
Yeah. Gasly taking more engine penalties. He's got a new version of the power unit for Mexico, the Honda power unit. They tried it out for the first session in, obviously, FP1. Otherwise, to explain that was what the first session was, but in FP1. So that's going to get added to his allocation. Then he's going to switch back to the old version, which Hartley, of course, has been showing some good pace in. But he's got 15 place grid drop, which, of course, 15 or more drops you to the back of the grid, doesn't it? So he's starting at the back again. But Christian Horner kind of alluding after the session to Sky that, as we all kind of knew, really, if we're being honest, Toro Rosso being used as a bit of a test bed now for next season, which, you know, we want to see cars fighting on track and being able to fight with each other. But from a Honda and Red Bull perspective, given that Toro Rosso should be able to hold off Sauber between now and the end of the season, unless they're going to go, Leclerc, a couple of points could do it, but they're not going to finish any lower than 9th. They're not going to finish any higher than 8th. So right off the rest of the year and focus on developing that engine, because Red Bull could really benefit next year, and Toro Rosso themselves as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think in a way, this is going to sound a bit strange, but I'm glad it's going to Gasly because obviously we know he's going to Red Bull next year. He's sorted. So in theory, he doesn't really need to prove anything in these last few races. But Hartley, on the other hand, in theory, he's fighting for his F1 career. So it is a shame, like you say. I mean, we want to see drivers going as quick as they can on the Saturday, starting where they put the car on. Wait, you know what I'm trying to say there. I've really messed that up. I apologise. You want to see, yeah, it's obviously being a late session. That's what it is. It's getting to my head. But you want to see guys do the maximum they can on Saturday and start there on Sunday. That's what you want to see. You don't want to see, like we've seen with McLaren for the past how many years, every weekend being at the back. But it's the end of the season. Like I think, like you say, with the Honda engines going to Red Bull, that's really what this is all about. So it's a shame, but I'm glad it's not Hartley.
It makes sense, doesn't it, from a Red Bull perspective?
Yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
And Honda as well. I mean, it gives them a bit more time to... I'm just checking Twitter because I've just seen a few people in chat. I think they're being cheeky, saying that Ocon has just been confirmed at Williams. He has not. There is nothing come through. I've not had a press release. I've not had anything from Williams. There's nothing on Twitter either, so behave. Is what I'm saying. No, it's all good fun. They like to keep me on my toes after the Gasly incident, of course. But anyway, I've got to give a big shout out as well, Dan, to the FP1 standings. Nicholas Latifi, Antonio Giovinazzi and Lando Norris all beat their teammates. What an outing from all of them.
Yeah, brilliant. And just so you know, don't doubt Giovinazzi. I know you and Jonty aren't the biggest fans. But no, doing brilliant. And Nicholas Latifi as well. He's not a name that's really linked with any Formula One seats. And I don't think he ever will be really. But it's still nice to see that he can jump in the car and do a job. It's really showing the talent that's in these lower formulas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I didn't rate Gio overly highly. Like the guy, I think he's a good racing driver, but thought maybe, he maybe had his chance and blew it a little bit. But to be fair, the FP1s, I know it's only practice, but the FP1 outings he's had, he's really surprised me. And he's been quick and he's been consistent, and that's exactly what Sauber want.
Yeah, exactly. And being up against Raikkonen next year, that's going to be the real test. But it's still great to see now in a car that, well, Ericsson's been driving all season, and it's just great to see that he's outperforming him. As much as we all love Ericsson here, I know that, but it's still great to see that these young drivers are doing really solid.
Yeah, a couple of people telling me to check Facebook on other sites. I will wait for the official news from Williams before I go anywhere down that road. It wouldn't surprise me to see Ocon there. We'll talk about silly season in a minute, though. FP2, Dan. Verstappen, strong in FP1, quickest. Strong in FP2, quickest. Looks like it's his weekend, then pulls over towards the end of the session after a sudden loss of power at maximum RPM right at the end of the start-finish straight as well. So quite a scary moment. Hydraulic issue is what Christian Horner is saying. So... probably not engine related, but if he does need an engine change, he's already got one in his pool, if you like, so he shouldn't need to take penalties. So not a great end to the session, but it happened right towards the end. He'd already got his laps in and, he doesn't need to take any penalties, so it's not all terrible, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think as well, we've seen this season, even if it is any sort of grid penalty, he's still going to put on an absolute show. And if the pace is as good as it looks at the moment, he could still be in for a chance of a win with Ricciardo's reliability. So you never know. But I think you're right. I think if you were really going to nail down a prediction, I think you would go in Max. He looks incredible this weekend, just like he did last year at this circuit.
Well, I don't want to say too much on it because it's kind of a topic for a future video, spoiler alert. But ever since Canada, the guy's just taken all that criticism on board from the first 6 rounds and he's just turned his season around. And I would say, ignoring those first 6 races, obviously you can't really ignore his podium early season, but I sort of mean in terms of everything that was going on and everything around him.
Yeah.
I would say that it's probably been his strongest season to date.
Yeah, by far. And this is going to sound a bit cliche, but he's grown so much as well, I feel. The Max we saw last time out in the USA, I personally thought that was his best drive I've ever seen. So calm and collective, even when he was fighting with Hamilton. You think back to the beginning of the season, like you say, and we wouldn't have seen that. He was in a completely different mindset. But I said on one of my videos the other day, I honestly think he's easily in my top 3 now on the grid. He's really, really impressed me this year. So I'd love to see him win another race before the end of the season because he has been that good.
Yeah, this could be their last chance, couldn't it? And I'd love to see Max do it, but there's just... It's Ricciardo's last season with Red Bull, his bad luck lately. I'd kind of like to see him do it just as a farewell to Red Bull and just give himself a bit of confidence going into next season because he can't be feeling particularly brilliant right now with everything that's been going on.
Yeah, and I didn't realise his last podium was Monaco.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It doesn't feel like that, but yeah, I'd love to see him get the win, but also I just want to see him on the podium at this point because that car reliability is nowhere. The team, although they're Red Bull and they're not notorious for team orders, I feel they'll still give Max a little bit more preferential treatment, maybe. But yeah, I mean, we all love Ricciardo, and it'd be great to see him finish his Red Bull career on a little bit of a high.
Absolutely. A couple of people in chat just asking why Renault are doing so well. I mean, Mexico, highest track of the season, so the altitude plays a massive effect. I think, I'm going off the top of my head now from what I did for the weekend warm. I think it's 78% of oxygen at sea level is all that's available around the track. And of course, that means that there's less air going through the engine. And so if there's less air going through the engine, there's less power. And then obviously that means that brings the Mercedes and the Ferraris closer to the Renault. So it closes the field up, which, as I said in the weekend warm-up, Dan, all right, that's going to mix things up at the front, but wow, does that make the midfield even tastier? There's nothing between them.
I love that. The fact you said tastier, that is a perfect way of putting it. It's going to be great. We've seen this year already some amazing fights in the midfield, but you know what? I really think this could be one of the best of the season. I mean, last year it was great watching Hamilton come through and with the title on the line, and I think it's going to be a similar sort of thing this year, but the only thing, I'm a bit nervous about is the Haas pace. I do love my Haas boys. They seem a little bit off this weekend. So if they're dropping back, are we going to see the Toro Rossos get back into the top 10? Or is it going to be that maybe the top 8 are in their own league and then we have a fight further down for the final few points? Because that's not quite as exciting. But as long as the on-track scrapping is great, then I don't really mind too much, to be honest.
If the race can be anywhere near as good as last weekend's US Grand Prix, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that one. I think it could be. I really think this one could.
It's got the potential, hasn't it? Definitely. So it's going to be, especially, I mean, tyres, for those that like your strategy, Hypersofts, to put it quite bluntly, are not lasting long. I think Hamilton said his were dead after 14 laps. Most of them were going off pretty much after some proper a couple of hot flying laps. So front runners are obviously going to be desperate to get through Q2 on the Ultras. But quite frankly, aside from Red Bull, can Mercedes and Ferrari take that gamble? I mean, of course they can if they want to, but have they got enough of a gap back to the likes of the Force Indias and the Haas boys to be able to really risk running the Ultras? Because we could end up in a situation where if they try it and it all goes wrong, they could end up 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th between them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, I think we'll find out that a little bit more tomorrow. I mean, you say, we always say it's Friday, so you never know. But if it was the pace like it is now, it's really going to stir things up quite a bit. So I'm a big fan of when the top teams try something really different. I think that's why I love the USA so much. I am a little strategy boy. I do love the strategy of F1, and that really got me going. I thought it was brilliant. So if we can have something similar this weekend, Well, I'm going to be loving it. I'm going to be loving it, even though it's on at 10 o'clock on Channel 4. But that's fine. That's fine. It's going to be a fantastic race. I can feel it.
So you're going to be watching the highlights whilst I'm streaming with Jonty and Chamber.
Yeah, I'm going to have to stay off the internet when Hamilton's crowned. I'm going to have to stay away from everything. And it's phones off, just headphones in, just sleeping until it's on. But hey, I don't mind. Next year, maybe I'll get Sky. Maybe.
Before we get on some of the news stories, I'm going to ask you honestly, are Ferrari and Mercedes really that far off the pace in your opinion? I'm going to give you mine. I don't think they are. I think Red Bull are the team to beat this weekend, but there's no way there's 1.2, 1.5 seconds between Max Verstappen and Sebastian Vettel.
Now you've deflated me.
Half a second, maybe?
But yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I think Red Bull are the quickest. I think that's fine to say. But yeah, we've seen all season long, maybe Mercedes have a bit of a dodgy Friday, and then all of a sudden, bang, qualifying there by far the quickest. So unfortunately, yeah, I don't think the gap's quite as it is at the moment, but I still think Red Bull are the fastest. But yeah, I think you're right. Ferrari and Mercedes aren't quite that far behind.
It's going to be a good weekend. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to miss FP3 tomorrow because I'm out with family, but I will be back for qualifying. So looking forward to it. I hope we have a really good session of qualifying and a really good race as well. So fingers crossed. We'll do some. Oh no, hang on. If you do like your technical stuff, by the way, I've made a note here. Red Bull have confirmed that their new floor is a direct copy of the new Ferrari one. So the new fins were apparently made using what's called a rapid prototyping. No idea. You can tell I've taken that from somewhere else. At their Milton Keynes base, and then they were flown out to Mexico, and they were stuck on the old floor, and all of that was done within just 7 days. That is what the rich teams can do at the front of the grid. Dan, within a week, they can just make some parts that look a bit like the Ferrari ones and strap them on the old floor. Impressive stuff.
Brilliant stuff. I mean, a little bit dodgy, but it's still, that proves what high standard Formula One is, even though they're stealing people's homework. But it's still, I mean, hats off to them. Let's be honest. It's an impressive job.
I mean, you say a bit dodgy, but just to confirm, they've not made them in their kitchen and stuck them on with sellotape.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. No shade. I'm not throwing shade, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Let's jump on to Haas then, because some pretty big news actually came out yesterday, and that's that they've signed a deal with the now famous Rich Energy Group, and they're going to be the team's title sponsor. I believe that's going to be Rich Energy Haas F1 Team is going to be the full name, and that's going to see them as well taking a brand new livery, probably in Rich Energy colours, for next season. I'm just going to have a quick flick through the quotes here, see if there's anything interesting. Obviously, the usual stuff from Gunther Steiner, securing a title partner in Rich Energy is another milestone moment in the development of Haas F1 Team. We welcome their commitment to us and as an organisation, and together we share an ambition to advance further in our respective fields. And William Story, that's the man, said, "We are delighted to become the official title partner of Haas F1 Team in Formula One. Our companies share a synergy in our work ethos." The usual PR stuff, and our desire to bring something new to the table in an environment made up of established brands. So, new livery, bit of money as well for Haas, so it kind of works out quite nicely. We'll come on to the other bit in a minute. I promise I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But Haas, I'm quite happy for them. A decent title sponsor. They didn't feel the need really recently. They've often talked about not feeling the need for a title partner, but a bit more money in that Ferrari backing as well. If they can renew that, they're sitting quite pretty with the pace they've got now.
Yeah, I was very happy with this deal. Not because it was Rich Energy, because even here's my quotation. I know you like your quotes, but I saw in the chat a quote from the chat saying they didn't realize Rich Energy was a real company. And if I'm being honest, at this stage, I was starting to think the same, to be honest. But no, I mean, I'm buzzing because it's going to be a black and gold livery. Grosjean's going to be in the car. It's going to be like the Lotus glory days once again. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not the biggest fan of the Haas livery. As you can tell, that's what I'm taking away from this, the livery. I do love the black and gold livery. But like you say, for the team, I think as well, this almost shows that, for me anyway, that they're not trying to focus on this being a Ferrari B team. They're their own team in a sense now. And I think this deal is them trying to say, we make our own decisions. We can have whatever sponsors we like. And you know what? I feel as well, it's really establishing them now as a Formula One team. I know it's only a title sponsor and a livery deal, but I still think it's crazy to think, in my opinion, that they're only in their third year, and the progress they have made has been incredible. And we have no idea what's happening with Racing Point next year and anything like that. So if this brings a bit more money into the team, maybe they can push on for that fourth. They might get it this year, but maybe they can consolidate it next year. And who knows, could be fighting for podiums come 2021 if this deal goes really well. So I'm all for it. Really, I am.
I'll take your point on Ferrari and just sort of say as well that what this kind of does will mean that they maybe don't have to rely on Ferrari quite so much. I will say, if the money turns up. The reason I'm saying if the money turns up is because we went over this, it was when all the Force India stuff was kicking off, when they were trying to buy them, and we found some info. I want to say it was from Hazel on Twitter, possibly, somebody did some digging into their accounts and found that they haven't got as much money as maybe they make out they have. But of course, we don't know. They could have an absolute fortune sat behind them, but I wouldn't be surprised to find out next year if that deal falls through halfway through the season and Haas never saw a penny. But so that's me being really sceptical on a Friday evening. But what's interesting about this, and a couple of people asking about it in chat, is in Austin, Claire Williams was spotted with Williams' story on the grid, and there was a lot of talk. He had some pictures taken with Robert Kubica that deal with Williams was a done deal. Now, interesting stuff. Apparently, it was all agreed that it was going to become Williams Rich Energy Racing. There was even a handshake that took place, a nice gentleman's agreement, all done and dusted. And at the last minute, they decided to go to Haas because apparently it was around 50% cheaper to become a title sponsor for Haas than it was for Williams. So twisting the tail, Dan, and I have to say, for a team, I think somebody put it on Twitter earlier, for a company that got quite stroppy when somebody beat them to signing Force India and other people backing out, it's a bit cheeky to then go and back out of the deal themselves. But there you go, Haas over Williams. I'm a little bit surprised.
Oh, the disrespect. The disrespect that's been sent Williams' way. I'm a little bit surprised. I feel PR-wise, they're about equal. Obviously, Williams with all their history and heritage, but Haas being the American challenger, that brings a lot of the American market to that team. So in that sense, I feel it's been a 50-50, but the fact that they've sort of done a double cross at the last second, it does seem a bit strange, but Rich Energy as a company seem very strange in my opinion at the moment. They're going all over the shop. So it is an odd one, but I know personally, I'm almost glad that they've not gone with Williams. I really like Williams' morals as a team, that they want to be on their own almost. And I know Martini did come in and help, but the fact that I'd hate to see a black and gold Williams is one thing there. And I'd hate to see Williams Rich Energy F1. I don't know why. That really just doesn't seem to sit right with me, which is probably a really weird thing to say, but you can guess I'm more glad that they're going to Haas, but it's definitely a strange one that they've sort of done this double move last second.
I've been kind of asked my opinions on it all over on Twitter a couple of times, and I'm going to be completely honest as always. I don't trust them. I don't trust Rich Energy. I don't believe. I mean, the money has to be there to a point for them to be able to do a deal with Haas, because they've got to prove that they're able to put that money forward. But I've just, all the stuff with Force India, the way that stuff that they tweeted out about Perez, really unprofessional, really, well, frankly, pathetic, the way they dealt with that whole situation, like whiny little children. You've taken my ball, I'm taking my ball, I'm not playing anymore because you've done this and you've done that. Really, really petty. And then they gain a little bit of credibility because they go a little bit quiet and work on maybe a deal with Williams, and then it turns out they back out of that deal last minute. And I think, I just don't trust them, Dan. So it's great to see Haas get some money in. It's fantastic to have another new sponsor in Formula One, because that's, F1's really struggling at the moment to attract a lot of things, let alone sponsors, and it'll be fantastic, as you say, to see a nice black and gold livery back on the grid. But I've got an issue trusting them. It's just a personal thing. Who knows? But at the end of the day, to be perfectly frank to everyone here, it doesn't matter if I trust them, does it? It's whether Gene Haas and co trust them. That's what matters. It's nothing to do with me at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think you bring up a fair point there. They are a very peculiar company. I mean, I know personally I wouldn't go as far as I don't trust them, because I don't really know a lot about them. And I haven't done too much digging about them, because it just seems like they're just a constant rumour mill. I was I was so shocked when they came out that they were with Haas. I hadn't heard anything about this. The Williams rumors, yeah, a little bit at the beginning of the season to Force India, halfway through Force India, but it just seemed like all a bit of a waste of time. Just like a random company just wanting to put their name out there to try and entice F1 fans. But I'm still a bit in shock, to be honest. And part of me agrees with you that I could just see them showing up in Australia and there's no Rich Energy Haas F1. It's just Haas F1 with a normal livery. So I don't really know what to think, to be honest with you. I'm just going to wait and see. Honestly, I really am. And I feel you're the same a little bit as well.
Yeah, that's all we can do, really, isn't it? It's like I say,
Yeah.
it doesn't. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we think or whether I trust them or not. It's whether Mr. Haas trusts him. Trustism. Wow. 10:30 on a Friday night, and I'm going with trustism. It's positive, Dan. We'll get there. We'll get through this, mate. We'll do it. I'm going to moan about your best mate now.
Oh, please,
I'm so
not
sorry.
more, not again.
Romain Grosjean, it is past the watershed, so I'm going to read the whole quote. Says he is in a, quote, shit situation because F1's penalty point system. He arrived, obviously, in Mexico with 10 penalty points to his name after he got an extra one for hitting Leclerc in Austin. Obviously, if he gets 12 points, he's going to get over a 12-month period. He ends up with a race ban, so he could, if he gets 2 points this weekend, be out of the Brazilian Grand Prix. And he said... And this is why I'm annoyed. Sometimes you take a penalty point and you don't know why. Well, first of all, hitting Charles Leclerc was not a smart move. You could have seen it as a lap one race incident. Yes, I made a mistake because I didn't want to take risks. I didn't brake hard enough, didn't slow down, and found dirty air. It's lap one of the race. Things happen. If you start putting a penalty every time we try to get a move done, the race is already not that most exciting in the world. Or not the most exciting in the world. He then went on to say, I think I have got penalised enough because my race was ruined. The point system, do we need it in F1 with supposedly the best drivers in the world? I don't know. He then went on to say, I will try to be as good as I can. In Austin, I didn't want to be aggressive and I lifted off out of the fight and then I got caught in dirty air. I trust my stars will be aligned and everything is going to go well. Surely, Dan, sorry, I've got to say it. He's moaning about these penalty points, doesn't think they're a good idea, thinks they're a terrible idea for the sport. Behave, don't crash into people and you won't get penalty points. What's the problem? It's only because he's been crashing into people and making those mistakes that he's got the points in the first place.
This is painful to talk about. What a cry. Why does he have to do this? Why does he have to be a cry every now and then? And when he got his ban the first time, that's what made him. He was so dodgy at the beginning of that 2012 season. He had the ban. He came back a completely different guy, pretty much, except at Suzuka when he smashed Webber on the first lap. But that really taught him a big lesson on how to control yourself. Don't go smashing everyone out in lap one. That's meant for the F1 game, not real life. So the fact that he's now in the same situation, you'd have thought he probably should have learned from earlier on in his career. And to be fair to him, he has been much better this second half of the season. And that's probably why it paid off, because he's thinking, oh, no, I'm past that. Those shouldn't matter anymore. But the fact of the matter is, he still crashed everyone out at the beginning of the year and he was still stupid. And he's very lucky that that he actually is racing this weekend. One penalty point. I swear that's like unheard of, giving a one penalty point. He was so lucky to get away with that last weekend. And I actually think he did get away with it. I think he should have got given the full penalty. There was no need. I know, yes, he did brake early and locked up and all that, blah, 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 blah. But there's still, when you're in that sort of situation where one stupid incident to get you a race ban, you don't even try. You just stay back, I feel. And then there's arguments, is that racing anymore, all this, that, and the other. But I feel when there's a race ban on the line, when at one point this year, his career was on the line, it's just so stupid. And it really triggers me because I do love the man. I really do. But I want to see him in Formula One. I don't want to see him in any other categories if he keeps smashing everyone out. So his comments are a waste of time. I do think that. And I think they're not well thought out comments, if I'm being totally honest, but he'll get past this. I don't think he'll be stupid again this weekend, but that's probably me being a fan rather than using some rationales. So as you can tell, not too happy about this. So yeah, I'll leave that one there. So yeah.
Well, he's not the only one moaning, to be fair. Max Verstappen's come out and said that they should throw them in the bin. He says if they think a driver making mistakes happens too much, then you just go and suspend him for a race. You don't need these stupid penalty points for that. If you commit a very minor offence every time, it can eventually total up to 12 points. Then I don't think it's right when asked about suspending a driver for a race. I don't think there have been many drivers in the history of Formula One who have deserved a suspension at some point. If you cause a huge start crash, then that's a different story. But if you get so many points because of all these smaller things, then a ban is triggered. I find it scandalous. Interestingly enough, Dan, the two drivers with the most penalty points are Romain Grosjean and Max Verstappen, and they are the two drivers who dislike this. Now, I kind of get what Max is saying. You know, if you get maybe a couple of penalty points for speeding in the pit lane, or a point for not handing your tyres back or something, they do build up to 12 points, but these are the only two really that are anywhere near. I think the next closest is, I think Grosjean's got 10, Verstappen's got 7, I believe, and the next closest is in third place, a driver's on 5 points. So if they are all able to do it, why is it different for Grosjean and Verstappen? You know, I know they're very aggressive drivers, both of them are, but Grosjean's got these points because of stupid mistakes. And you look at Spain was ridiculous. I don't care what anybody says. That was one of the most, not just the incident, but then to go to the stewards and go, and then admit to everything that he'd done and why he'd done it, and somehow put himself in an even worse position and look even worse. His incident in Austin was absolutely 2 penalty points. To be honest, I think it was, Chamber, I might be wrong, on Sunday's stream went and did a little bit of digging and found that he was, I think the majority, if not all, of the penalties this season for causing a collision were 2 penalty points. So that would mean he would have only needed 1 for a mistake in Mexico. So the penalty points, I know there are a lot of penalties in F1 and a lot of rules in general, but they're there for a reason. They are there. It's okay saying, if somebody, like Max says, if somebody has a big crash or whatever, then yes, ban them. Or if they're making lots of mistakes, then ban them. But it's a good way to keep a record of how many mistakes you're making. That's like saying, I don't know, applying it to road car. You get 12 points on your road car license in the UK, as you will know, Dan. But if you got caught speeding and you were doing 85 miles an hour, is it fair for the police to go, actually, I'm going to ban you now from driving because I've just decided I think you were reckless there? No, you have the points there, so they can go, well, you've been warned. What do you expect? And that's exactly what the F1 penalty point system is. It works. It makes sense. We haven't seen a race ban because of it yet. And I think Grosjean is just dropping because he's close to a penalty, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. And what Max is saying as well, it's so subjective, saying if someone causes a big smash at the beginning, they should be banned the next race. I mean, I look at some of the things Magnussen's done this year and think, my God, why is this guy racing?
He's only got 2 points.
Yeah, exactly. It's things like that where I think, yes, it's inconsistent. But I think if you're going to completely disregard the point system, that's a bit daft. And I think it does work quite well. There are some things, like you say, like not giving tyres back and pit lane speeding, where you think, well, that's a little bit harsh, but it's there for a reason. And I think it works, to be honest. Although I will say, did Lance Stroll pick up points in the USA? Because is he now third? I'm not too sure about that.
I think so, yeah. I think so.
Yeah, but even he's not mentioning anything. And I think it works. I think this is a classic Grosjean cry that we're used to. He's not been as bad this year, so he's trying to get it out now before the end of the season. So not impressed with my boy. Hopefully he can learn for the coming races.
The problem is as well, going back to what Verstappen says about having the FIA saying you're causing too many collisions, you're banned, is where's the line? We've already seen it. They can't be flipping consistent with penalties in races and whatnot as it is. So do they look at a situation and say that's a ban? What if that happens 6 weeks later and they don't give a ban? You're going to get all your conspiracy theories out there and the inconsistent accusations. This is just a nice, almost simple way to police it. And at the end of the day, if they behave and don't go running into each other, they won't get penalties. Yes, accidents are always going to happen in racing, and I don't think for a second that that's going to change. Of course, they're wheel to wheel. They're going to collide at some point. But it's when you look at things like the incident with Grosjean. Yes, he lost downforce against Leclerc, but he was still the one locking up. He was still the one in that position. He caused the incident. Whether if we're going to start getting really stupid about it and start saying, well, yeah, but he lost downforce, then, it was physics' fault. Let's give that the penalty points. he was the one locking up. He was the one causing the incident. So it was the right decision. Stroll's penalty. What's your take on that, Dan? Because I'm really torn on it. I think there's a little bit of me that looks at it and thinks the stewards were a little bit harsh on Lance Stroll, but then you look at the incident as a whole and how far Alonso went flying off the track and the impact itself, and you think, well, maybe not. But I don't know. I'm quite on the fence with that one. I'm not often on the fence with incidents involving Lance Stroll. I'm usually either really, really sucking up to him or really, really trashing the guy. But yeah, I'm quite on the fence with that one.
I wasn't really impressed with that one. I think the nature of the circuit, especially lap one at that sort of area, if Grosjean's not crashing there, then you shouldn't be crashing there. If I'm being honest, but it was a little bit daft, and Alonso got a little bit heated, which was fair play. But I think I tell you what, I did think the stop and go penalty was very harsh.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, if he'd got a 5-second time penalty, I'd have been kind of like, yeah, all right then. But a stop go seems quite a bit.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's in the Williams anyway. He's not like he's going to be up there fighting for points, but to completely just destroy his race. Yes, he destroyed Alonso's, but I feel that's really inconsistent with the rest of the season. I don't remember the last stop and go we've had this year.
Been a while. I think it's been a while. It seems to be. I don't know why I went so high pitched there. But just seeing chat, it looks like I've now got a new catchphrase. It's physics' fault. So that's me in a spot about that. We will talk a little bit about silly season and title in a minute, but I do just want to touch on this for those that have asked in chat. The stewards have deemed that Mercedes wheel design is legal, and so they can run it at this weekend's Mexican Grand Prix. The ruling states, where's that quote? There it is. Should Mercedes run the part as described in the correspondence between Mercedes and the FIA technical department, the stewards would consider this part to be in conformity with the regulations, but only with respect to the points raised in Mercedes' request. But they did add that they reserve the right to judge alternative geometries and to change this view if, for example, the spacer were to grow beyond its primary function and if the holes were to become big enough to have a more significant aerodynamic effect. So it's legal, but if they find that it's giving them too much of a boost, they might change their mind there, basically. But yeah, that's a bit deep for a Friday night. But it is legal, so they are going to be running it. But at the moment, it doesn't look like it's going to make a shed load of difference to their weekend. So at the moment, third fastest car, possibly, you could say. So crazy, really, from Mercedes' perspective. But are we expecting the title wrapped up this weekend, Dan? I'd be very surprised, especially with the pace of those Red Bulls. Vettel can't finish third. He has to win the race. It's as simple as that. So those Red Bulls have got to have problems or completely screw up their strategy, or Ferrari have got to nail a strategy for a change. Joke to Ferrari fans, don't worry. But they've got to nail a strategy in order to beat those Red Bulls, because he's got to win it. People saying Hamilton needs 7th or better. No, Hamilton can go park up and have a coffee. As long as Vettel doesn't win, he's world champion.
Yeah, it looks very, very difficult. Not only a Ferrari off the pace, but historically, in the 3 years we've been here, this hasn't been Vettel's best circuit. I mean, if you think back to that very first race when we came back here, Vettel had the weekend from hell. He kept on just going off. Did he hit the barrier like twice in the race? I mean, it's not easy to hit the barrier in that circuit. So it's not his best track, I feel. But I think it's more on the fact that the Red Bulls look so good that I don't think Vettel's going to be able to do it. I really don't. And part of me thinks I'd love it to keep on going. I really would. But then also part of me now, which I haven't had all year long, I just want it wrapped up. I really do, because we're right on the edge now. It's virtually impossible for Vettel to do anything, because even if he does win this weekend and Hamilton DNFs, then next time out, it's almost practically done anyway. So part of me thinks, let's just get it over with and have some really good non-political races for the rest of the year, because previous years, although the pressure's off a little bit, we have seen some great races at the end of the year. So yeah, I think it's fair to say that Hamilton's going to wrap it up, I'm afraid, for Vettel fans.
Aaron Dixon just asking in chat, if Hamilton retires this weekend, does he still win if Vettel finishes second? Yep. Hamilton could DNF, and if Vettel doesn't win the race, it's all over. But Constructors' Championship can be won. Mercedes can be win. Oh my God, can be won. Mercedes just need to outscore Ferrari. Just need to outscore Ferrari by 20 points. But again, damn, with the Red Bulls looking so strong, that might not be done this weekend. But I think, although that's a bit more open than the Drivers' Championship, it does still feel a little bit like a foregone conclusion.
Yeah. Yes and no. I think this weekend there's not going to be much change, if I'm being totally honest. I think even Ferrari might edge a little bit closer. It's going to be a tight one, especially considering Bottas's lack of pace at the moment and Raikkonen's almost resurgence a little bit more of pace. So I think that's going to be, for most fans at the moment, the more interesting story to follow. That and fourth place in the constructors. But yeah, again, if you're still going to put money on it, you'd have to go Mercedes.
Yeah, I think I go. I mean, you never know. You never know.
No.
It can that is a bit closer, but I think it's probably going to be then. We are going to talk some silly season, by the way, because you're here, Dan. And I always talk silly season with you. You're my silly season correspondent. That'll do.
Don't call me that. Yeah, that's a whole lot of rumours and gossip.
Cool. You're all right, mate. Sorry, Toto Wolff was asked on Sky about Esteban Ocon and whether he'd be in Formula One next year. He said, quote, "For next year, the chances look pretty grim, but we are already thinking about 2020. So Esteban Ocon, unless, of course, those rumours over on Facebook do come to be true, doesn't look like he's going to be on the grid next year. I'm not going to say any more about Ocon because I talk about him loads, but I still think that's a travesty. Toro Rosso, Franz Tost said that there will be no driver decision until December. They want to have the full picture, I assume, to see if Hartley can have a good few races and make a decision from there, Dan, because at the moment it's Hartley, Alexander Albon, and that's pretty much it, I think, as options as far as I understand it. I've not heard any other names linked this week, so obviously Albon's still in negotiations with Nissan to get out of that contract, and Red Bull trying to help him out of that one as well. But, you know, Hartley, he's been good. He was good in the US, picked up a couple of points, yes, okay, with disqualifications, but still got the points on the board. He's looked good in FP1 and FP2, so maybe Toro Rosso saying, just hang on a minute, let's just see how he stands at the end of the season. He might turn this around, and we'll see, maybe get him in next year and keep him for another season. I'd be surprised. I think Alex Albon is the overwhelming favourite for that, but it's odd that they're waiting till December.
You see, I think that's the game changer, waiting for December, because Formula E starts on the 15th of December. And currently, we have no idea what's going on with Nissan and Alexander Albon. He didn't show up to testing, didn't do any testing for the team over there. So big question marks on whether he's going to be in Formula E. And I feel that Nissan driving Formula E that's a big opportunity to throw away.
Agreed.
It's got to be a nailed-on Formula One contract, I feel. It really does, because Nissan have a great chance of winning this year. They really do. So I think the December deadline, if he doesn't show up in the first race for Formula E, that's all pretty much confirmation. But making it a little bit more juicier.
You'd hope they'd announce it before then. You'd hope they'd announce it before the Formula E. It's like everyone waiting for Albon to turn up. It's like, he's not here. Must be going to Toro Rosso.
yeah, exactly. But making it a little bit juicier. I think Hartley's done well recently. So he's in with the chance. He's fighting. And I think that's what I love to see, that he's not throwing in the towel. He's going to go for this, and he's really going to try in these final few races. So it's definitely, I think you're right, between the two of them. Albon, though, yeah, he is the favourite at this point, and I think he will get it.
Yeah, I'm like so many people. Hartley's such a nice guy, and we saw in categories before F1 that he's a bloody good race driver, but he's just not really delivered this year. But, you know, like I said, good in Austin. He's been good so far this weekend. If he has a good weekend in Mexico and then can carry on in Brazil, he might just force Toro Rosso into having to make a decision, which is all he can really do. But I think Franz Tost pointed out at the end of the day, he's got 4 points and Gasly's got 20 odd. So I think that kind of says it all. But I think Gasly is the better driver anyway, if I'm being quite honest on that one. So that shouldn't be a surprise. But we shall see. I suppose we shall see. Williams, who's going to get in that one, Dan? I mean, Ocon. I want Ocon in there. I really want Ocon in there, but I wouldn't be upset to see Kubica get it, and I certainly wouldn't be upset to see Sirotkin stay. So I'm quite easy with that one. But if I had a preference, it would be Esteban, obviously, because I never shut up about him.
Yeah, I mean, that's silly season, isn't it? Esteban Ocon, that has been the story ever since he was getting those rumoured moves to Renault. But yeah, that's the preferred choice. I mean, I've even heard this week that Nick de Vries might be in with a chance, which came out of nowhere. But I feel they're just picking up names from anywhere at this point. They need to be serious, and serious candidates for me are Ocon, Kubica, and Sirotkin. They're the only three, like you say, that I can realistically see in that car. And I think Ocon would be my number one. But apart from that, I don't really mind too much. Sirotkin, I think, has been solid this year, and it'd be a little bit of a shame to drop him because he's been solid for the team and performed well against Lance Stroll. Kubica as well, the story behind that is fantastic. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to see him come back and perform awfully, and halfway through the season, we're all saying he's got to be out. So, yeah, Ocon's got to be in there. Fingers crossed for the lad.
Yeah, hopefully. Like you say, there are that many names linked with everything. You wake up on a morning wondering if you're going to be in the paper somewhere. Dan linked to Toro Rosso's seat or something, don't you?
Hopefully.
You never know. It's been a completely crazy silly season. It's
Yeah.
settled down quite a bit, but Williams are in no rush to make that decision. I've just seen a question in there actually. Has Lance Stroll been announced as Force India yet? Said Oliver Kenworthy. He has not. The Force India are quite clear. Stroll's quite clear as well that. I love this. I just take a breath, Sean. But I absolutely love this because they're going, no, we're not going to announce that I'm going to Force India until Ocon has made his decision. Well, you've just kind of told us you're all going to Force India, so you might as well just tell us, to be perfectly honest. I mean, what kind of comment? Force India as well. No, we're not going to announce anything out of respect for Ocon. And you think, well, you've just, by not doing that, you've just kind of confirmed what's happening. So just say, Stroll is coming, Ocon's on his way out. But I kind of, in a way, I like the fact they're trying to be fair to Esteban, but yeah, I think Stroll is nailed on for Force India. You literally would have to pick me up off the floor if he's not racing it for Force India next year. It would be, if I go missing for a while, you know why, after that news. But yeah, it'll be Stroll at Force India. I would imagine that'll get announced probably. It all depends, doesn't it? I mean, Williams aren't in any rush. So if Williams wait until December, like Toro Rosso are going to, then Force India might not announce anything till then. But it just seems mad, given that we know he's going there. They've not said. I mean, just say. Everyone knows.
Yeah, I wonder if they're maybe. This is my tinfoil hat. My first moment on the street with my tinfoil hat. But I wonder if it's not waiting for Ocon and Williams. Maybe it's the big rebrand of the team. Maybe they're going to wait for the big rebrand, the big new name, and then maybe confirm Lance Stroll as well. Maybe just throwing that out there, because that's something I'm really interested in seeing next year. Because obviously we know they're racing Point Force India, but they're definitely not going to be that come Australia. So over the winter, especially, that's going to be one. Personally, I'm really going to look forward to seeing. But yeah, Stroll's nailed on, isn't he? But
yeah.
Ocon, like I say, fingers crossed, really. That's all we can do.
I'd be stunned. If it's not Stroll, I don't know what I'd do. Because I'm all set off that. He's already the Discord mascot for next year. So if he don't get a seat, we're in trouble. But yeah, I think Stroll, obviously, well, I know pretty confident Stroll to Force India, Albon to Toro Rosso, and I'm going to go...
Go on. Say it.
Oh, but whoever I predict isn't going to get the seat. We know that. Screw it. I'm going to go Sorokin. No, Kubica to Williams. I'm going to go Kubica for Williams. I think that's what will happen. The reason I say that is because there seems to be a lot more focus around him of late. And of course, he's got a little bit of money coming in now from some sponsors, and there's some talk about Sorokin's money drying up and some issues over in Russia with his backers. So Kubica, a bit of money, the story as well behind it. That's a very marketable story. They may not have a title sponsor. That's a big void to fill. So if they've got money from a sponsor and a story to sell, Kubica kind of ticks the boxes. Unless, of course, Toto Wolff goes, here's $25 million, take Esteban Ocon.
Yeah, I agree with you with Force India, with Stroll, Toro Rosso, Albon, but I am going to go Ocon. I think that's by far the best choice for him, and yeah, I think that's what they will go with.
It's the best choice. This is Formula One, though. The best choice doesn't always get picked, do they? But anyway, that's an argument for another stream. My 30-minute stream has gone really well, Dan. We're 53 minutes in. So we're going to take a couple of your questions. Was there anything we wanted to talk about? Just trying to think. I think that's everything. We've done FP1, FP2, bit of silly season chat, some of the news as well that's floating around. I'll have a quick scroll on Twitter whilst you guys pop some questions in the chat for us to answer. We'll do those for 5 minutes or so, and then we shall wrap it up, ready for yet more streaming this weekend. So I keep seeing Williams post now, getting all excited that something's going to come, but it's not happening. So no, I think that's pretty much everything, unless you've got something, Dan.
No, not really too much. I've been trying to go through Twitter as well. Ever since the beginning, someone said Ocon. I was like, whoa. Better jump on that. It looks like Ferrari are rejecting its new floor design. It says here, 57 seconds to go from Autosport. And Tatiana Calderon's getting a run in the Sauber. But apart from that, I think you've covered it all, mate. You've done another solid.
I saw there's a tweet here from Online Tuner. Great name. Says, doesn't the UK have a dedicated F1 channel? What the hell do they make up a whole channel with? Not a lot. I'm still quite outraged, Dan, at the fact that Channel 4 had, what was it, about quarters to so about 5.5, 6 hours of dedicated coverage for FP3, possibly longer, and qualifying, and they're not a dedicated F1 channel, but Sky Sports went off the air between sessions. I think that's wrong. I think Sky Sports should be live as much as they can flipping well be for the money you pay for it, and the fact that it's a dedicated channel. And for those that don't have Sky, and sorry if I'm putting you off buying it, Dan, because I know you're thinking about it obviously with your channel and whatnot, but it is basically, here's your race weekend stuff, that's great. And then for the rest of the 2 weeks building up, it's a repeat of that race 907 times. And then you highlights as well. So you get highlights, and then you get the full race, and then they might show you the full practice sessions again for some reason, because we all get thrilled by practice. And then all those little pieces that they do before the race, they then show those in little bits in between adverts and whatnot for the rest of the week. And it's yeah, they should be doing more than that, but I'm just having a moan now. So I just spotted that tweet. I was like, not a lot actually, funnily enough. But yeah, let's have a look for some questions then. So, who would replace Grosjean if he were to be banned? Says 3DS Bros 1. A lot of talk that Ferrucci, nearly said the other name I used for him. Ferrucci apparently is their reserve driver, but I would say Antonio Giovinazzi. I don't even think Haas have got the balls to put Ferrucci in that car right now.
Yeah, that would be a PR not just a PR nightmare. Everything about that would be a nightmare. So yeah, I think Giovinazzi is definitely the sensible option. Yeah, I think I'd.
Tommy McEwen, hello mate, not seen you at a stream for ages. Good to see you. Says, will Force India still be pink next year? I hope so, but I've got a feeling, what are they? I need to find out what the Racing Point colours are in terms of sponsorship or whatnot, but I'd like to see them keep the pink in some way, because they stand out really well and they do look good, particularly the strawberry milkshake pink of this year.
Yeah, it's their real niche at the moment. I mean, they're always a car that seemed to, like, I don't know, fit in with the grid a little bit, but now they are the Pink Panthers. Everyone knows this up and down the grid, and I think we've all got used to it as well, and I think most people like it, and yeah, I'd love to see him keep it, if I'm being totally honest, which, if I'm being honest 100%, at the beginning of the first season they had it, I was not a fan, so I didn't think 2 years down the line I'd be saying that, but it'd be great to see him keep it. It really would.
Kai Peterson, or Peterson might make more sense, says, who will become Williams' new sponsor in 2019? It was Rich Energy, wasn't it? It was all done and dusted in a handshake and just ready to sign a contract. So I'm still surprised that didn't go through, to be honest. But I'm not. I'm worried they're not going to get one. There was only really the Rich Energy talk that we've been hearing, and I'm really concerned they're not going to get one. They've got a lot of money to find with Stroll going. Hopefully something. And yeah, I'm just not confident, Dan. I'm really not.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, they have big ties to all the Formula E teams and Formula E, so maybe a brand from Formula E could make a little sneaky jump over to F1 just to help out Williams a little bit. It's thin ice. It really is. It's going to have to be a company or something out of nowhere, or else they're going to be in real trouble.
Got one for you, Dan. John Whittaker, who will be Formula E World Champion this season?
Oh, brilliant question. Brilliant question. I'd love to know your thoughts on this, Sean, afterwards. A
driver.
Well, BMW looked really, really good in testing. Felix da Costa, I would put my money on. Red Bull young driver, former Red Bull young driver, one win in Formula E so far. He looks solid in testing. I would go to Costa.
BMW looked really good in testing, so I'm going to go with Antonio Felix da Costa. I haven't got a clue. I haven't got a clue, to be honest. I kept an eye on testing for the first time ever in Formula E, but it kind of meant nothing to me because I didn't see anything last year. So I am going to be watching FE though. Can we call it FE? I hate calling it FE, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't call it FE. It sounds wrong.
Somebody said I should become the FE word for the winter or do an FE word show, but then I realised the abbreviation is few, and I didn't like it. So no, but I'm going to be watching it, so I'll be tweeting about it and that, and see if I can build some interest, because from what people say, it's quite an exciting series. So certainly willing to give it another go. So maybe Jaguar could help Williams out, says Kai. I would love that.
Brilliant.
Bit of British racing green back on the grid as well. You think those Jaguars, when they came back, early 2000s, they just looked stunning. I loved the colour of that car.
Yeah, I tell you, I love seeing cars that are just completely different with their liveries, and that royal green with a bit of red in it as well. That was very nice. Definitely would be no complaints from my end with that decision. Although any sort of company like that, even if I know Land Rover, those sort of companies, just a really random sort of brand wanted to come in and chuck in a really random livery, I'd have no complaints. But just as long as they get one, if I'm being totally honest, I don't really mind what it is.
Yeah, agree. Daniel Philpott wants to know why I hate Formula E. I don't hate Formula E. I've just never really got into it. I can't say I hate it. Just never really got into it. But I'm going to try. So Dan's talking me round.
Trying my best, everyone. I'm trying my best.
I'll take one more question then. Let's have a look. Sorry, this isn't a question. Just who owns the Lotus name, says Games Donovan. I don't think Colin Chapman's family own that anymore. I seem to recall something recent, or not recently, but a couple of years ago, that got, I think Tony Fernandez bought that, didn't he?
Oh, I'm not too sure, but it
No,
would make sense
He
considering.
Bought the Team Lotus name, I seem to recall. Correct me if I'm wrong in chat or in comments afterwards, but I think he bought the Team Lotus name, and then there were question marks over whether or not he'd get the rights to their previous success and whatnot. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm gonna look that one up after this. I'm quite intrigued by that, actually, to be fair.
That's a really good question. Very smart.
Stephen says Noble and Fernandez. There you go. Thank you very much, Stephen. So that will be Tony Fernandez. Yeah, I got something right. And they're right, yeah. And Red G says there are two Lotus names. There are. There's too many Lotus names. There's so many out there. One more question. Apex Twin says track limits seem to Apex Twin. He's talking about track limits. I love that. Well done. Seem to be an issue every track. How do you feel about a zero tolerance policy? 2 wheels off is fine. Just fed up with the argument, and there's no advantage to be gained. I completely agree. I think zero tolerance, and you'll be amazed at how quickly drivers will suddenly stop running wide. And when people say, Charlie Whiting always says it, oh no, he didn't gain an advantage. He would not be out there if he was not gaining an advantage. We saw it in Austin in qualifying up at turn 9, and everyone going, oh, this is out of order, but yeah. They just turned around, well, we're not enforcing it there. Well, that's what? You can't enforce it in one part of the track and not another, so it needs to be zero tolerance. The problem is 20 cars, a lot of action on that first lap. How do you police that? You could end up turn 1 with 10 cars getting a penalty.
Yeah, although it would deter things like the Sainz overtake the whole grid around the outside of the circuit like he did last time out. But yeah, I think zero tolerance would definitely be the best way forward, but policing it, actually, I don't think policing it would be all that bad if you said on maybe the first lap, a bit more lenient than the rest of the race, and qualifying, no tolerance whatsoever. So, yeah, I think that's definitely the sensible way to go, but I doubt they will do it.
When was the last time the FIA was sensible?
Oh, I cannot think of that. Giving Grosjean 1 point, so he's not banned. That was very.
He wouldn't have been banned with 2. They should have given him 2, but I think they bottled that. And if I agree. I guarantee you, if he does something this weekend, unless it's really serious, I bet he only gets 1 point again.
Yeah, I agree.
Which begs the question, Dan, why bother with it if you're going to do that? Just don't have the system.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I thought with that is, arguably, that's I don't want to say a cheap incident to get banned for, but it's a very difficult situation, and I wish the FIA were just very clear with things, but we're never going to have that, so gives us plenty to talk about. So, yeah, it's all a lot of fun, really.
Yep, absolutely. Last one before we disappear. It's a contribution from Andras. You're going to kill me. You'll kill me on Twitter for not getting his name right, but thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate that. Says, quali predictions, top 3 without penalties. I am going to back Max Verstappen to be... I've just ruined his weekend. I am going to back Max Verstappen to be the youngest ever F1 pole sitter. Of course, 3 races left, I believe, for his chance to do that. So I think he'll get it tomorrow. Top 3 for the race. Verstappen, Ricciardo will finish, and Vettel. I think Red Bull will have got this in the bag unless suddenly Mercedes and Ferrari turn out to have an extra 1.5 seconds in their engines. So that's my top 3: Verstappen, Ricciardo, and Vettel for the race, and Verstappen for pole. So Hamilton takes the title, of course.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'd go Verstappen as well. Then for the pole, I think Verstappen for the win. I'm going to go Vettel second. And I'm going to go with Hulkenberg third. Just keeping it nice and spicy. Nice and spicy. I love to do that. And Hamilton title.
The scenes if that happens. Hulkenberg on the podium. I'm going mad. I'll be going mad in the live stream afterwards. I absolutely love that. I'm to Max Verstappen fans watching now and that are in chat, and to any Max Verstappen fans in the comment section or anyone on social media, I am so sorry I've just ruined his weekend. If you're new to the channel, my predictions are becoming renowned among our little community for being generally terrible and me jinxing everyone. So I've just ruined Red Bull and Max Verstappen's weekend, so you'll probably find that Fernando Alonso will win from Stoffel Van Dorn. But there you go. We're going to leave it there, Dan, because my half an hour stream lasted an hour and 5.
Just a little bit over time.
Just a little. It's been ages. We needed a good catch up. So it was good to do. So I'm going to leave it there, mate. Thank you very much for coming on and giving me a hand with this one. I quite enjoy the Friday ones. They're nice and relaxed because we can't really read too much into it all. So have a bit more fun with them. But it's been a pleasure as always.
Oh, it's been brilliant, mate. And it's been my first Friday one. I did a Wednesday one, then a Sunday one, now a Friday one. So I'm having a little bit of everything at the moment, but I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
No worries, mate. Thank you very much. And I'm sure I'll talk to you in a bit.
See you later, man. See you later, everyone in chat.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye. Lovely. Thank you very much to Dan, and of course to all of you guys for tuning in as well. It's been a pleasure. Quite enjoy these Friday ones. Like I was saying to Dan, they're nice and chilled. Loads coming up over this weekend. I am going to be I'm going to try and do a qualifying report tomorrow. That is 80% going to happen. It just depends on what time I get back from being out with family all day. So some family stuff on tomorrow. So that's going to be priority, obviously, family. So I'll try and get a quality report tomorrow. If it does go up, it's going to be about midnight, 1 a.m. UK time. So it's going to be a late one. I will be back as well, live at 6:45 with Alex Zaffro making his first appearance on the channel for months. And we're also going to have a newcomer as well, Jamie, for the race watch-along. Yes, we're going to be doing a watch-along. We're going to try something out before the end of the season. So I'll be live with that at 6:45 for the race. And then at 10 p.m. UK time on Sunday, I will be live once again with Jonty and Chamber for the post-race cooldown room. So make sure, if you're new, you can subscribe for all of that. Loads coming up this weekend. And of course, then there'll be the debrief on Monday evening as well. In the meantime, though, you can follow me over on social media. Links to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course to Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word. And until next time, goodbye.